Is she alive? Someone asks that question in a ruined Shibuya corridor, and the manga does not answer. The panel moves on, the silence stays. Fans reread that page for months, looking for certainty that was never there. But what if that question got an answer right away? Not for her sake alone, for everyone who would have carried it. Here is what this timeline holds. In a hospital room days later, Nobara says 3 words that everyone who loves her will repeat back to her for the rest of the story, without her ever asking them to. And the person who reaches her in time, it is not Yuji, it is not Maki, it is not who most fans assume. Let's get into it. In the original manga, Mahito touches Nobara's face. Idle transfiguration, soul manipulation through contact. The left side of her face ruptures. Yuji screams her name. Later, someone asks if she is alive. Nobody answers clearly. That ambiguity is real, and this video will not pretend otherwise. The pivot in this timeline is small. Arata Nitta, the assistant whose technique keeps wounds from worsening, does not wait at the checkpoint. Minutes earlier, he decides to follow the students into the station instead of holding position. 90 seconds. That is the entire divergence. Nobara is alive. But alive and unchanged are not the same thing, and this story respects the difference. Nitta is not a fighter. That is exactly why this works. In the actual Shibuya chaos, he was already nearby, already assigned to support the students, and in canon, his technique is the only reason her fate stayed uncertain at all. In this timeline, he simply arrives before the damage crosses the line it crossed originally. He rounds the corner as Nobara staggers back from Mahito's touch, and he does the only thing he can do. He reaches her first. There is no dramatic clash. Mahito, wounded from his exchange with Yuji, weighing a dying girl against his own survival, chooses to melt into the wreckage and live. He is not beaten, he is patient. Nitta drops to his knees, hands already glowing, voice shaking but certain. I can't heal you. I can only stop this from getting worse. The rest, you have to do yourself. And Nobara, half conscious, bleeding, here's the one kind of help she has ever respected. Help that leaves the fighting to her. Her fingers curl around her hammer. She does the rest. She wakes up 4 days later to a hospital room that is far too full. Yuji at the bedside, eyes already wet, an apology forming before she has even focused her vision. Megumi by the wall, Ieri in the doorway. And Nobara takes one look at all of it, the grief, the guilt, the moment they are all preparing to have at her, and she refuses it. That refusal is the character. She built herself out of the decision to never be what other people expected, and she is not about to start with fragile. Yuji gets out half a sentence, Nobara, I'm so sore, and she cuts it dead. Don't. My life was wonderful before Shibuya. It still is. So wipe your face before I find something to throw. Yuji laughs and sobs in the same breath, the fear and the relief sitting side by side, neither one erasing the other. Megumi says nothing, but his shoulders come down from where they have been living since the corridor, and that is his entire speech. It still is. 3 words. Remember them. Now the honest part, and we are not rushing it. Nobara survived, and something in her is different, and pretending otherwise would insult her. She experienced what Mahito's technique does from the inside. Her own soul handled like clay. No training covers that. So watch what she does now. Before every fight, she wraps her left hand, slowly, deliberately, a ritual that never existed before Shibuya. And in combat, she has developed one new instinct. She never lets an enemy touch her face. Not once. She fights at nail range, at hammer range, at any range except skin. Some fans would call that fear. Call it what it actually is. Evidence. Proof that something real happened to her, and that she walked back onto the battlefield anyway, knowing exactly what it can cost. She never talks about the corridor either, not because she cannot, because she has decided that when she does, it will be on her terms, on her schedule, and not because someone looked at her with soft eyes and asked if she wanted to open up. Fearlessness is easy when you have never paid the price. Nobara has paid it, read the receipt, and returned regardless. That choice, made with full knowledge, is worth more than every unbroken version of her that fans imagined. She is not who she was. She is who she decided to be after. Then there is Maki. Everyone else softens around Nobara, just slightly, just enough to be noticed and resented. Maki does not. Their first training session after the hospital, Maki comes at her full speed, no warning, no allowance, and that is the most respectful thing anyone has done for her since she woke up. Because Maki understands something the others do not. Treating a survivor like glass is just another way of leaving them in the corridor. Nobara catches the strike, barely, and Maki smirks. You're slower. And Nobara, grinning through gritted teeth, gives it right back. You're uglier. Guess Shibuya took something from both of us. It is sharp. It is a little mean. And underneath it is the truest sentence either of them will say all year. 2 people who refuse to pretend everything is fine, and refuse even harder to let each other drown in it. Which brings us to what this timeline actually changes. Nobara walks into the culling game. She is there for all of it. Every colony, every impossible choice the original timeline forced her friends to face without her. But one moment matters most. In the original story, Yuji faces Mahito's legacy, carrying the belief that everyone near him dies, and he faces it hollowed out. In this timeline, at his lowest point, when a cursed spirit wearing Mahito's philosophy tells Yuji that he is only a doorway for death, Nobara is standing in the wreckage beside him. Living proof the sentence is a lie. She does not give a speech. She says 4 words. It still is, idiot. His own hope, in her voice, handed back to him. He gets up, but understand this clearly. Mahito escaped Shibuya. He is still out there, still reshaping souls, still patient. This timeline did not defeat him. It saved one person from him. The threat continues. That is the price of an honest what-if. So no, this is not a clean fix. Nobara lives, and she lives with something now. The wrapped hand, the guarded face, the soul that remembers being touched. But that weight is not a flaw in this timeline. It is what makes her survival mean something instead of a reset button. The last image is simple. A rooftop in Tokyo after a mission. Nobara, hammer over her shoulder, standing exactly where the fighting was thickest, because that is where she chooses to stand. Still marked, still loud, still here. It still is. Drop one word in the comments. Just one word for how her story makes you feel. I read every single one. And subscribe, because the next What If JJK timeline changes something you have been waiting a long time to see change.